perfectly honest with you, I suffered really badly with anxiety and depression. I'm ex-forces, and I'd had a lot of help from an organisation called SSAFA, who are a veterans charity. So it really was an absolute no-brainer to give back some of the stuff that they're given to me, and we're doing really well so far. So yeah, it's just perfect. The more that I got into the journey, the more people heard about it. People have been helping me with food. They've been helping Jet with food. It's really lovely to see the kindness that we're receiving. I never expected any of this when I started. I thought I was going to be living off bugs for the next 2 years.
Chris, how are you, brother?
I'm very well, Chris. Nice to speak to you, pal.
Yeah, it's good to finally catch up. We've been sort of passing ships, but under the current climate and also with what you're doing, it's hardly surprising, is it?
I know. It's nice to be somewhere where I've got a bit of signal and Wi-Fi that I can do this with you, mate.
Yes. It seems like you've been taken in by good people quite a lot from what I can see.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've got to be honest with you, mate. I'd a little bit lost my faith in humanity before I started this, but I can promise you for free that that's completely restored. Folks have just been unbelievable. I'll give you an example. Just to do this today, I asked somebody, look, can I borrow your house because it was too stormy outside? So yeah, within 5 minutes I was picked up and here I am. So yeah, people are just amazing.
Brilliant. And how's Jet? Is it called, your dog's called Jet?
Yeah, Jet, she's absolutely fine. She's sitting down here in a hump with me this morning because I haven't fed her yet, so she's going to have to wait till after.
Yeah, as long as she doesn't sue the podcast, and it will be all right. So can we just go back, Chris? You were in the paras, is that what I understand?
Yes, that's right. I'm ex-2 para.
Okay. How was your military career?
Well, mate, I didn't really do very long compared to most. I was in for 8 years, but I ended up going over to Northern Ireland on a compassionate because my wife at the time wasn't very well at all. So, like everybody, mate, I had a great time whilst I was in. And the lads more than anything, I just love them.
And then were you like me? Did you sort of feel it was time to move on and there's sort of new horizons?
Well, I had a good reason. My daughter was newly born, and me and my wife had split up. So, I was really keen to get custody of Caitlin at the time. So all of my energy and effort was on that. And obviously that would have been really difficult for me to do. At the time I was on tour, I was in Palace Barracks in Northern Ireland. So I knew that I'd not have had a chance. So, I had a really good reason to get out and a purpose, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Palace it's in Belfast, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just outside. Yeah. Well, yeah, Belfast, Bangor sort of area.
I seem to remember when I was in Belfast in '89.
Wow.
Back in the good old days, or
the
bad old days, depending on which way you look at it.
Yeah, they weren't throwing around sherbet then, were they?
No. We used to get picked up in the I think it was a 4-tonner, and then they would take us to Palace Barracks for some reason. I know we had to pick more people up and then go to the airport, but yeah, I do remember it.
Yeah, I've been back since. I actually went and walked that section. I went and did Northern Ireland. It was quite surreal seeing it, from a civilian point of view, not down the limestone road.
Yeah. Did you feel any? I mean, I'm guessing when you were there, things had calmed down somewhat since 1989, right?
Oh, absolutely. My first tour there was, I think, 97. I don't know whether that was just before the actual peace process came in. So don't get me wrong, it was still, from my point of view as an 18-year-old, slightly hairy, going out into some of the riots, especially on the 12th. But yeah, nowhere near as bad, I assume, as what it would have been, when the troubles were bad.
Yeah, I've been invited back over there.
Oh, have you? You should do it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm hoping to meet up with some former sort of IRA guys and get the other side of the sort of story.
Absolutely, that's great.
But my producer wants me to go back on our old sort of patrol grounds,
Walking around twitching.
Yeah. I don't think I'm scared of anything, but I think there's a fine line between being scared and being stupid.
Yes, indeed.
And I remember the bitter hatred that we face. I'll make no judgment on that, folks who are listening. It's just the way it was. And
of course,
Yeah, I can't see that going. I can't see that going away anytime soon. So,
But you know, it's interesting you say that, because I've often, you know, I've actually spoken to people, because I lived there for a while, and I actually spoke to people about that kind of stuff, you know, even from the other side. And, you know, when you look at it from their perspective, you know, it kind of makes sense. You know, it really does. That's what I feel anyway.
yeah, well, that's the whole thing about the military, isn't it? When you're young, you get told one side of the story, and
Exactly.
you haven't got any life experience to compare it to. And
Exactly.
peace, everybody, please.
Yeah, yeah. Love.
I would say we're old hippies now, but you actually look like one, Chris.
Thanks, mate. Thanks. I'll tell you what, it's protecting me up here from the midges. They're great for winter, obviously to stop your face freezing off. And then, yeah, great for the summer to get the midges away, because they are horrific.
Mm.
Absolutely horrific, especially up here on the west coast of Scotland. It's borderline not funny, mate.
No, I bet. I've spent quite a bit of time in Norway, and there's a lot of lakes up there, obviously.
Oh, lovely.
Lake water being the breeding ground for mozzies, and my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, it's not funny, is it?
Savage.
I
Absolutely.
remember we actually came up for an exercise once years ago. It must have been about 2000 or something. And we came up to Scotland, and I kid you not, I don't think the entire battalion was there, but I think it was about 20 seconds after we got out with the 4-tonners and jumped straight back in the 4-tonners, because the boys were just eating midges and flies, thinking, what's this all about?
Yes. So do you want to tell us what your challenge is, Chris, just so everyone's aware of it, and then let's delve into what made you decide to do such a brave thing.
Okay. So basically, the challenge I'm doing is I'm walking around the entire coastline of the United Kingdom. I started on the 1st of August 2017. You know, I'll be perfectly honest with you, Chris. I didn't plan any of this. There was no plan to it. It was a split decision one day, and a couple of days later, I was gone as soon as I rallied around the kit. So yeah, it was very impromptu, and just go and do it. And I needed to at the time, because I was in a bad place. You know, I suffered really badly with anxiety and depression, and yeah, I knew that if I didn't do something about it soon, you know, I was going to have real problems. So yeah, I just done one, basically, literally.
And a very good, a worthwhile charity, isn't it, SSAFA?
Oh, SAFA are amazing. I mean, they were so good to me. SAFA, David Singletree, he's head of South Wales SAFA, and he was so incredibly good to me. It was unbelievable. And you know, to do this walk was very much of a personal thing. But you know, it was an absolute no-brainer to do it for SAFA, just to give something back to them. Because Chris, I'm no war hero or anything like this. I didn't really do much compared to most of the lads that I was in with. But you know, seeing some of the troubles they've had, you know, really made me feel a sense of guilt getting help from SAFA, considering I hadn't done half the stuff that they had. So yeah, yeah, the two work perfectly together, and it seems to be working amazing. And SAFA is still always in touch with me and helping me whenever I need it. So yeah, they're a wonderful organisation. I love them.
Yes. And for any of our oppos out there, if you're struggling with mental health, with financial difficulty, reach out and get in touch with them, because
absolutely. And you know, they were the first charity organisation that were just so personal as well, because I wouldn't speak to anybody, Chris. I mean, I wouldn't even speak to any of my family, but bless Dave Singletree, he was knocking my door, making sure I was okay. He was probably the only person that I'd open the door to. So that kind of personalness about it, you know, eventually got me to open up. And I agree with you, you know, the hardest step is making that first step. And I think that's in anything you do. So yeah, absolutely. Get in touch with them, and you'll be surprised how much they can help. Just being around people that can relate is a huge difference. And you know, people aren't on their own, are they?
yes, I've reached out to them 3 times in my life, and
Wow.
it's I wouldn't say life-saving on all 3 occasions, but it certainly was pretty life-enhancing the first time I reached out.
That's it. It's just knowing that there's people there, isn't there, that, like I said, that can relate to you. That's a big difference. And when I left the army, Chris, I didn't keep in touch with anybody. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody at all. So I kind of, yeah, it's only since I've been back in touch with SAFA that all of a sudden I'm rekindling that relationship with all my old friends from the forces, and it's quite marvelous, to be honest. It really is.
Yeah, it's worth noting, Chris, when you're in Civvy Street and you're not feeling right up top, things like signing forms, getting a benefit, paying you more, it can suddenly seem so unmanageable, can't it?
Oh, totally. It's a different world, isn't it?
And then you get this former service person who will be a volunteer with SSAFA or the British Legion, steps into your life, and immediately you're talking the same language, and it's come on, son, let's get you, let's get you on your feet again. And
exactly that. And I've been to a lot of things like breakfast clubs. There's lots of military clubs like that around the UK coastline that I've been walking, and just immediately when you walk into that building with, say, like 20, 30 other guys, that are all there just to beast each other and take the mick out of each other. The kind of that banter, I personally, on a personal level, I didn't feel you get much of in a civilian life. Not a lot of people got me. But yeah, as soon as you walk into that room with a group of people that are like-minded, all of a sudden it brings you straight back down to earth, and it's wonderful. And yeah, I'd advise anybody to make the effort to go and do these sort of things, because it really is life-changing if you're in a bad place.
yes,
It really is.
So I'm going to pick up on a point you made, Chris, which is I get asked a lot by people, Chris, I want to do a challenge. I want to do it. What do I do? And I say, just do it. Right?
Yeah, basically, as simple as that.
Yeah. I don't know if you're aware, but in 2018, I ran the length of the UK. I ran,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I ran an ultra marathon day from John O'Groats to Land's End, carrying all my Bergen full of camping gear.
That's amazing, Chris.
But this is the thing. I get people approach me now, Chris, what I did, I said, look, I put a Bergen on my back, I bought an air ticket, I got out at John O'Groats, checked my compass. I didn't even, the only map I had was 5 pages that I'd torn from an AA road map, right? My compass pointed that way, so I just started running. And yeah, you'll figure it out. But the big thing there, isn't it, is how many of us don't follow our dreams because we get put off or distracted by other people's views or the pressures of paying the bills, this sort of stuff.
You're so right. And other people's views will only be on the way that they base themselves. So, I have so many people on this, please don't walk that part of the coast, it's so dangerous, it's so dangerous. And if I'd have listened to them, I would have missed out half of it. But actually, people are different, and it's lovely that they care and they've got their opinions and views. But the second you start listening to that, I think people are setting themselves up. Fear and failure, to me, I don't understand why they're two things that are looked down upon. Failure is so important. I mean, how are you ever going to learn? I've always had that quote that when you're first born and you first start learning to walk, we didn't get up the first time, did we? So nothing changes, if you keep that kind of just keep fighting spirit. And yeah, I think fear and failure are two of the most important things that have made me successful in this, being scared of it and not being scared of failing, because all I'm going to do is learn from it. And it's important to keep going after that. That's where you grow and learn. That's what I believe anyway. I believe.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I'm probably the biggest failure I know, but that's
Same here.
That's also why I've achieved all my dreams. It's
exactly. But I think modern day life as well. When you've got a home, you've got a family, and you've worked hard to get all of these things. It's not an easy thing to turn around and risk all of that to go and follow a dream. But it goes back to that old saying once again, isn't it? I'd rather spend my entire life failing at something that I love than succeeding at something I hate. And yeah, I think there's so much truth in that. So much.
Yeah, I like is it the Gurkha motto? What is it? Something like better to live one day as a lion than a lifetime as a coward.
Love it, love it. I'm going to write that one down, Chris. I'm going to write that one down.
Yeah. Make sure Jet understands it.
Yeah. Oh, she's a lion, all right. She's a dog in a lion's body, this one.
Talking about people getting involved, right? I had this distinct thing on my trek where some people got involved because they genuinely wanted to help you, and they were at my beck and call. I mean, literally, It's just like, tell me what to do. Other people got involved and you couldn't help feel it was more for like their agenda.
Or they want a cheeky photo or something.
Well, it's just like, right, what are you going to do? I've got you this food. You're going to go and have a bath. And I'm like, I don't want a hot bath. I want ice. I need ice. My knees are killing me, right?
I'm so with you. So with you. Yeah, again, I think they're just trying to be nice, but I think that's the whole point of getting away and doing something like that, isn't it? Is to not feel that you have to be somewhere, have to do something, have to do this. For once, when you yourself doing your journey, that you're suddenly just on your own. Your decisions are yours. You can't blame anybody else for any bad decisions. It's your call. So I feel it's a lot easier that way. But yeah, I've had it so many times, Chris, where folks have just tried to organize your life for you, not realizing, I think that's exactly what we're trying to get away from. Just winging it is a wonderful thing.
And the other thing,
sorry, go on.
The other thing, isn't it, is so where are you going to be like 3 weeks on a Tuesday? I don't fucking know.
I don't even know where I'm going to be this afternoon, mate, let alone there. But yeah, that's what makes these journeys so amazingly you know, spiritual, I think would be the word. You know, like I said, it's just having that freedom and the not caring too much and the not organising. Life can be so planned, can't it? And there's no fun in that ever, is there? There's no fun in that at all. All the people that I've met since I've been doing these walks, I've met multi-millionaires that have given most of their money to charity and just bought a little yacht and live on their boat, just going from one place to another and foraging, and you know, the different types of characters and people. And it all comes down to one thing, that you know, folks chasing money and all this kind of stuff. And I understand that, I've been there. At the end of it all, you know, they're just numbers at the end of the day, and you're always going to be chasing it. But actually, that real sense of purpose and pride, I think, comes in doing something that you really have to push yourself at, and maybe have a good chance of failing at it. So yeah, I think this is why me and you are talking.
And it's quite surprising, isn't it, the number of things that can go wrong, or the challenges you face, but you do find a way around them. Of
course, every time. Well, I think, you know, it very much depends on the character, doesn't it? You nailed what you said there, you know, things going wrong and thinking about it. And that's why I left so soon, because I know that if I started thinking, right, what happens when I get up to Scotland, to the wild parts? You know, I'm doing this unfunded, so I never expected the love and support that I'm getting. But if I'd have thought too much into it, I probably wouldn't have left. Probably wouldn't have left. I think if you have a real goal or a real dream, then just go and do it. I think that's the only way. Don't think too much about it and hit the hurdles hard when you hit them, and just get over them. Simple as that. You will eventually.
Yes.
Keep going.
And so where did you start from?
So I started from Swansea in South Wales, and basically started heading north. This is how unplanned it was. The only reason I started heading north when I got onto the beach, because I'm a surfer, and I saw down at the end of the beach that there was some swell, and I know a couple of the boys that were in the water, so I thought, I'll go down and see them before I go. And that's the only reason I turned right. There was no plan at all. So I just kept heading that way to come up through, obviously done Wales, come up through the west coast of England, the Lake District, into Scotland. And that's where it really began for me. Once I started hitting past sort of like Glasgow area and getting into the more barren parts. Yeah, that's when things really started changing, and this became more of a challenge than running away from something.
Well, it's good that you went that way, because that means you've got the southwest yet to do, right?
Yes, well, I'm on the east coast now, so I only turned the corner from the north coast probably 10 days ago. So I'm on the east coast heading towards Inverness now, and everything's changing. You know, I'm already starting. Inverness is going to be the first city that I've been in for over 2 years, because obviously I've been doing all of the islands as well. Glasgow was the last one.
Yeah, I'm not too sure of the coastline up there, because I came down the west side of Scotland. So I came down Loch Ness and
what a beautiful place.
Oh, it's stunning. Stirling and all that kind of area. Very got quite risky, because obviously I had minimal kit to keep warm and dry. Yeah. Coming through the Highlands, there was one time I just had to run 18 miles non-stop, literally, because there wasn't even a tree to shelter behind had I got into any difficulty. But yeah, Inverness, is that because of the shape of Scotland? Because I would have thought that was west coast, but
no, actually, well, some people say west, some people say east, but I'm on the east coast now, and my next city's Inverness. So
okay.
A lot of people argue it, but you know, the way the coast works, once you come down, it takes you into Inverness and then continues.
Yes.
The west coast opposite Inverness would be somewhere like Fort William.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's the way I came. How was it at John O'Groats then? Was that a sort of good moment for you?
It really was, you know, certainly to be turning east, but you know, the islands have been the serious highlight for me in the west coast of Scotland. They've just been absolutely unreal. You know, we spent winter, you know, camping out in Shetland which was probably the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. But having finished those islands and getting it was extra special to get to John O'Groats, because I'd been thinking about it for a long time, especially coming up the west coast, and thinking, just think of that day when you get there. The physically hard part is going to be over. So yeah, it was a very special moment, and I was really fortunate. I had people there to come and meet me. I had locals coming off the ferry to come and meet me off the ferry to welcome me back to the mainland. So yeah, to be honest with you, I don't think it's actually sunk in. I've been so focused on heading north for so long. But yeah, to think that I'm heading into the warmth is quite unreal, really.
Yes, and it's stunningly beautiful up there, isn't it?
Yes, I'd never been to the west coast of Scotland before. I have to the east. And yeah, it really is just something else. I would advise anybody to go there. I don't think they realise what's on their doorstep, especially the Hebrides and Shetland and Orkney. It's just something else. Yeah, very special places. I've been burying stuff along the coast as an excuse to go back and pick it up when I finished. So,
so what kit did you take?
When I first started, I was completely unorganised. I didn't have anything really. So I was literally, I got a pair of boots off my brother, and somebody lent me an old tent. Dom, his name is, an old tent, but it actually had a hole in the top of it. So it was terrible, basically. What I first started out with, if anybody who knew what they was doing, because they looked at my gear, they would have probably given me a lift back home and said, don't even think about it. But yeah, I just had the basics. And I know I've always kept it that way. But obviously, as the walks progressed, people have just been amazing and wanted to sponsor me better stuff, especially doing the parts that we're doing. In fact, we've just had a new tent brought for us now. So yeah, the kit's much better now than it was when I first started. But you start with nothing, don't you, to eventually get what you need.
A tent with a hole in it, that's called a bucket, isn't it?
Yeah, basically. Coming through Wales, mate, it was horrible. Obviously I didn't have jet at the time, so every time it rained and it was a wet summer, it was just coming through the roof, and I remember trying to pitch onto a slant so that the water would run down. So it was horrible. But yeah, now I look back on it, it was absolutely amazing. Great fun, great character building, as they say, Chris.
Yes, mate. Yes, I was quite conscious, obviously, of weight.
Yeah, same here.
So I probably, I spent a fair bit of money really to try to get the lightest stuff I could. It was silly things.
Yeah, you were running. That's a different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. And as it progressed, I suddenly understood what it was I was doing and where I needed to be in this whole thing. At the beginning, you don't really know, do you? You just set off and you're a bit naive. I think it was about 15 kilos I was running with, and I hadn't run anything, not even I think I ran a mile around the block.
Mate, my hat is off. My hat is off.
Well, I didn't have a choice because I just had spinal surgery. So I'd been disabled for pretty much 2 years, right? And it's a bit of a story I won't go into. I'm trying to finish my book about it at the moment, but I just saw a window of opportunity. I was fed up with waiting. My first flight I had to cancel because I popped this disc in my spine, and I didn't want to leave it 2 years I think it was, and so I booked a flight. But I was like looking at my cooker shield, this aluminium foil thing that you put around your cooker, and that weighed probably, I don't know, let's say 50 grams, 100 grams. And then I realized you could get one from China that weighed 4.5 grams, and I was doing all of this. And when I came back, when I left, I said to my little boy, can you give Daddy a toy that I can take with me to keep me, what's the word I'm looking for? The companion, company, that's it. And so he gave me
like a Wilson.
Yeah. This one was called Wolfie. It was a little husky that I bought him, I think in Slovakia or somewhere, or Slovenia was it, I think. And it was one of these little doggy, and it was filled with the beans that they put in now, like the little beans, so they sit like a bean bag sort of thing.
That's brilliant.
And to give you an idea of how much weight I had to shed and really start taking it seriously, especially as I had a shin splint halfway down the country. So basically, for people listening, that's a stress fracture in my right shin.
It's horrible.
Yes, very painful. But when I got to Land's End, I took Wolfie out of he was on the strap of my backpack. I pulled him off and gave him to my little boy as we ran the last 100 meters together.
Oh, that's amazing, Chris.
And he looked at Wolfie and went, "Daddy, he's lost weight."
You're taking the things out.
I still haven't had the heart to tell him I had to empty all the beans out of Wolfie. There's about 20 grams worth of beans in there.
That's why you should have buried stuff, Chris. You can go back and get them then. But it's so true, the psychology of it, and psychology of it, and the littlest thing can start to bug you. It's when it starts to hurt. That's the thing, isn't it? It's when it really starts to hurt and you think, why am I carrying this? Why am I carrying that? And just flinging it all out. You end up with just a skeleton of what you actually need. And I don't know about you, but for me personally, all I ever carry is for an emergency. That's it. Anything else, I carry no electronics apart from a charger and my phone, and anything else. I've just stripped everything down. Honestly, I'd cut my beard off if it wasn't for the midges, just to save a bit of weight.
I had one change of clothes. No, I didn't have a change of clothes. I had the clothes that I wore. And because I was popping pain medication and I was washing it down with rum, which anyone listening, I don't recommend you do, but
yeah.
I had to. I wasn't going to fail. There's just no way. I couldn't fail, and so I had to run with a broken leg for 400 miles.
Wow!
But by the time I got to Land's End, boy, all of those chemicals was coming out of my pores, and I stunk like really, really badly.
If someone had a headache, just give you a lick.
Yes, I was probably should have been on the shelf in a pharmacy by that stage.
But go back to what you said, Chris. It's so right, isn't it? If you'd have thought about that before you'd started and all the what ifs and stuff like that, the fact of the matter is you did whatever you had to do to get you through it, and now we're sitting here talking about it, and you achieved it. Amazing, mate. I'm really chuffed, honestly. Massive fist bump for that. That's awesome.
Thank you. I had to say thank you to my friend Colin, because he's one of the messages that I saw on Facebook. He went, "Chris, if you finish this, you can dine out on it for the rest of your life."
That's nice, that is.
And that was the one thing I thought, I can't I? I was thinking about the after dinner speeches and all the motivational stuff, and there could actually be a career here, and it's kind of it's certainly gone that way.
That's amazing. So do you do a lot of chats and stuff like that, like inspirational talks?
Well, I had my first few wrapped up. I mean, I've done a few, but I was really getting into it with these public speaking companies. Although that's probably not the right word for them these days. But but then of course this current situation developed, and obviously everything's been wiped off the calendar. Sure. But it's all good. I'm not complaining because I can talk through the internet. It's been good for my career, really.
That's incredible, mate. Well, you kept going. A lot of people, I know some myself in lockdown and stuff like this, they just immediately admitted defeat. You sound a bit like myself, mate. I just got busy and started raising more money and stuff, just approached it the proper way. That's not bad for a bootneck, that, Chris. Definitely.
Well, we do our best, mate.
I had to get that in there, mate. I had to get it in there.
I haven't had a para on the podcast yet that hasn't felt the need to say something.
Feel free to beast me, mate. Feel free.
I was almost slagging the paras last night when I talked to Robin Horsfall, who's people might know was in the Iranian embassy siege as an SAS trooper, and of course I'm forgetting he was a para before.
I watched that film with Rusty Furman. 6 Days, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, I watched that. It's a great film.
Yes, it's I was old enough to remember it. I think I was 10. It was just like you'd never seen such a thing. These black men suddenly appearing on a balcony on an embassy in London, and they're coming down with ropes, and suddenly the huge explosion, and you thought, oh, the bad guys have just blown them up, but it wasn't. It was the other way around. It was them forcing
that
their
must have
way
been
into
something else to watch at the age of 10.
But
I was actually born on the 6th of May, 1980, when that was done.
Wow. Yes.
So, yeah.
And this is the thing about following your dreams is, you know, did I know then when I was 10, I would be sat here chatting to an SAS trooper who was in that.
Exactly. That's incredible. It's a little bit of a life slap, isn't it? It's kind of, yes.
Yes.
You know.
It just makes me really happy, you know.
Yeah.
Really
and that's success, isn't it, mate? That's success.
Have you had any injuries, Chris?
I have nothing majorly bad. I bust my ankle coming through Isla, which is an island in the Hebrides, and I had to make my own little crutch because I was quite a distance to get near to any roads or anything. So what would have normally taken me probably, you know, 4 or 5 hours ended up as a 2-day jaunt to get back, and then got taken to obviously get it sorted. I had one on Barra, which is an island. It's where it's the only plane that lands on a beach in the Hebrides. There, Jet's dog bowl come round and hit me in the face and knocked me clean out. But it had split one of my teeth, and the tooth had gone down into the nerves, basically. I had nothing on me apart from whiskey, so I pitched the tent, and it really was horrid. I was crying like a 2-year-old. And yeah, I necked the whiskey, and I had a rabbit snare at the time because I've been catching rabbits for food and stuff. And yeah, I just used the rabbit snare. I actually videoed it. It's on my page. So yeah, I had to pull my own teeth out, which wasn't very nice, but you know, worse things have happened, I suppose. It was only afterwards I realised how drunk I was after nicking the whiskey. I just laid there like this. Oh, feeling proper Tom Hanks.
Yeah, well, that'd be a good paragraph in your book, I'm sure.
But apart from that, you know, not really. I've been super, you know, it's taken me a long time to do this. And I think a lot of folks, there's a lot of other walkers doing certain things, but there's a very, very, very big difference to walking the roads, especially in places like the west coast of Scotland and the islands, than it is actually sticking to the coastline. It's a different world altogether. And that's why it's taken me so long to get around, because Jet and I haven't stopped. I haven't gone home or anything like this. Well, I'm actually homeless, but I haven't gone home or done anything like that. It's just been full on the entire time. And we're still, 3 years and a month into it. So yeah, it's quite crazy really. But fortunately, because of the way that I approach this, and I take my time on the really hard bits, and I don't do it like so many times. How many miles do you walk a day? You know, where do you sleep? Do you plan this? And I just listen to my body and, you know, put the bag on, make sure I've got food, and make sure Jet's got her food, and I can forage if need be. And that's what's kept me pretty much injury free all the way through this. Because if I feel tired, there's no agenda to get somewhere. As long as it's somewhere that will keep us safe from the wind. Through Shetland, I was having to camp, making sure I was either near a cave or somewhere always as a backup, even if it's under a rock, because the winds up there was just brutal. Never known anything like it, to be honest. So yeah, fortunately, touch wood, I've kept myself safe so far, nothing drastic.
3 years.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's some commitment, isn't it? Well, it's a commitment into life, but it's still a, you know, considerable amount of time, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. But you know yourself, mate. How long did it take you to run? How long did it take you to do that?
36 days.
But I bet those 36 days, you know, apart from it being really hard towards the end, I suppose, how kind of quick does that go when you have the mentality of 1 day at a time? One day at a time. So to me, it doesn't seem like 3 years, because I approach this literally 1 day at a time, and that's it. So yeah, just keep the ball rolling. As simple as that, really.
Yeah, I wasn't, when I set off, Chris, I didn't even think about the running, I'll be honest. For me, I just wanted the kind of, I don't know if spiritual is the right word, but the kind of spirituality of trotting down a country, finding a nice campsite for the evening, set myself up, getting some food on the go, and just having that me time, really.
But it's completely that thing, isn't it? It's never the destination, it's the journey at the end of the day. Listen, I've got to be honest with you, I'm not even massively keen of walking, not in the slightest, but you know, what I get to see, where I get to camp, the good times, the bad times, you know, it makes it all worth it. And you know that from what you just said. So yeah, that's the difference, isn't it? In fact, I can't stand walking. I wish Scotty could just beat me up.
Do you prefer it on the, I'm guessing some stretches have been on the road.
Yeah, you have to be.
Do you prefer it on the road or on the trail?
Oh, absolutely on the trail. But once you start getting, say Fort William, once you get up past Fort William, Scotland becomes slightly different than sticking to the coast, because there are no trails. You know, you'll go around big sections. Very, very few have walked. In fact, as far as I know, nobody's ever actually stuck to the actual coastline itself, all the way through the west coast of Scotland and the islands. And yeah, for me, the scary parts were the best. You know, looking down some of the coastline, it's just mountains, and there's no paths. Nobody can tell you, because a lot of the routes people do are trails through the mountains, if that makes sense. They're following a path through, you know, following cairns and this stuff. But I didn't have any of that, and those were the places for me. I don't like being on the roads at all. I try to avoid them as much as I can, unless I need to get to a shop or something drastically. So yeah, it's just been coast, but only roads when we genuinely are on the coast and have to be. Otherwise, yeah, I like to be out in the middle of nowhere and really working for it, you know, because they're the places where all the wildlife comes into its own. You know, I spent lockdown on an uninhabited island off the west coast of Shetland. And people would, you know, oh, I can't believe you're doing that, it's crazy. But I tell you, mate, I was going out in the evening every night around 7 o'clock, regardless of the weather, just on my own little island where all the wildlife and all the birds, and something that I've totally fallen in love with, and just listening to them all. You know, I can not name, but I know what a bird is just by the sound of it now. I couldn't tell you the names of any of them, but just by listening, because I've got nothing else to do. There's no TV, no distraction. So yeah, it's, like you said, I don't know if spiritual is the right word, but certainly I've learned so much about myself being on my own all the time. It's quite wonderful, actually. I'll advise it to anybody.
Yeah, I bet. Well, yes, ditto. I had the opposite thing though, because I had so limited kit. I tried to go up the West Highland Way.
Yeah,
you must have heard of that, right?
Yeah, of course.
And as soon as I went off road, it was torrential rain and wind. And then you really got to start considering hypothermia, you know, going down, because I'm on my own. I've got a lightweight rain jacket. There's only so wet you can get before you just can't re-dry. And if the tent gets sopping wet through, and I found myself pining to get back on the road.
Yeah,
nice and safe, you know, and I could,
it's a safety net.
If necessary, I could flag down a car or something, you know.
Well, you nailed something there as well. The difference when you said that you were on your own, it's really hard to explain, because most people, let's be honest, most sensible people, when they go hiking, they'll go with people, a group of people, or somebody else, or something like this. And the difference between doing that and having somebody else there if something was to go wrong, and being completely on your own, you know, all you have is you, that is a different ball game altogether. I'm sure you'll agree. But again, I think that's where the real test comes in, and where you really find out about yourself, and you know what sort of minerals. We can all sit there and turn around and say, yeah, if this went wrong, this is what I'd do. But until you're actually in that position, you're never going to know, are you? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think being on your own is just a wonderful thing. You know, as long as you know what you're doing, obviously. That's why I only pack for emergencies, pal.
Mm-hmm. Did you have to come down the A9 then? Is it the A9?
No, not at all. So I haven't done any roads. Well, I haven't for a very long time, because there is none. You can literally follow the coast. I mean, where the farmers' fields are, you've got the A9 is probably about 400 meters off the coast, and then there's farmers' fields, and then there's a gap maybe about two meters long, you know, on most of the points where you're by the side of a fence and obviously the cliff edge. And me and Jet are literally doing all the ins and outs and everything like this. So yeah, I'd never go and walk on that A9. No way, not a chance. I'll take my chances with the cliffs. At least I'm in control of it.
It was lethal, absolutely lethal. One thing I didn't realize while I was up there, I was trying to find camp spots that were kind of secluded, not because I didn't want to get in trouble with a landowner, right? It wasn't until I finished my run that someone said, you know, it's all free land in Scotland.
It's the right to roam.
Common land, right? So whereas camping is illegal in England, which is just the most stupid, only politicians could come up with that.
Oh, there's about 1 million homeless people everywhere, you know, but we're not allowed to camp.
Yeah, it's people listening. You might think I'm joking. No, it's illegal to camp in the UK.
Yeah.
In a national park, you can stay one night so long as you move on and don't have a fire. The rest of it, they just expect you to go in a campsite, right?
Yeah.
Really? How can you teach your boy how to become a man in a, you know?
You can't make fires, nothing, can you? It's ridiculous. But Scotland, has the right to roam, which means you can basically go anywhere, under, as long as you're respectful and everything like this, you can. Coming up through England and mate, the places that I slept is unreal. I slept in graveyards. I slept in roundabout centres in the middle of a roundabout. I even slept in a petition in the middle of a dual carriageway, just to not be caught. And going to camping really late at night so nobody can see you, and then getting up before anybody else sees you and stuff like that. And I'm going to have a huge shock to the system once I hit England, and I have to start sneaking around everywhere again. It's quite scary, really.
I think you'll be all right, to be honest. You always do find somewhere.
Yeah. There's always a way. I know that. Always a way. I've got a lovely following now as well. So people have been offering me gardens rather than doing that and stuff. So that's going to help massively. But, I'm making a point of camping. I don't stay in houses. So we'll see. It's a new challenge altogether.
And can we give a shout out to the Scottish people, because they were so kind to me up there.
Do you know, pal, and this is not between me and you, obviously, because we're doing a podcast, but I don't think I'll ever live south of Scotland again. They are such beautiful people.
Yes.
It's so laid back. I'm so in love with all of the islands and those smaller communities. And you please shout out away, because I'd like to do one after, because they are something else.
I would go in a shop to, get a sandwich or something. And when they asked what you're doing and you explained, and, I've got to find a campsite for someone to put the tent tonight, they'd be like, oh, you can put it in my garden if you like.
Yeah.
Never
met them before. Do you know what I mean?
And the place I really found touching, I'm not sure if you'll go past there, but it was Lockerbie. I can't think geographically where it is.
That's on the west coast, Lockerbie, isn't it? I'm sure of it. Because
of course it is. Yeah,
you don't go right past. You go past it, but it's a little bit more inland. Because I remember somebody telling me that Lockerbie was there.
If people are wondering why my geography is bad, it's like I told you. I had a compass. As long as it pointed south, I ran. When I saw the sign for Lockerbie, it was off the road. It's like a slipway. You got to leave the whatever it is and go into this village. And because I'd seen the air crash disaster on TV as growing up, I just felt massively drawn to just go and see this place. And again, for people listening, it was a Pan Am airliner full of people on its way to New York that was blown up over Lockerbie, and the wreckage rained down on the village. So to put it in context, it's a peaceful, quiet Scottish village, incredibly friendly people, all living the sort of community life. And suddenly one night, all hell breaks loose, and this, tons of airliner comes down on their village, obviously dead bodies, hanging from the bloody rooftops and everything, and villagers dead themselves. And when I went there, I just saw how friendly they were in the pub. All the girls, the serving came over and asked me what I was doing. The landlord came over and said, "Where are you staying tonight?" And I said, "Oh, I'm not sure." He said, "Well, just put your tent next to the, next to the pub." And I just sat there thinking, my God, especially when I went to the memorial garden the next day and I read all the memorials, which was just really kind of emotional. And I'm not usually that kind of person, but
when you see it for yourself, isn't it? It kind of brings it home a little bit,
Yeah, it brought, like, seeing it all on the news and all the documentaries that's been made. It kind of just like brought it through you, Yeah. And I just remember thinking, God, you poor people, and you've got to live with that, the legacy of that horror. The name Lockerbie is just synonymous with that, and that's none of your faults,
Yeah, it is awful, mate. Absolutely. Imagine that, being asleep at night time and suddenly something like that happening. It's not even, you kind of think about it.
But I'll tell you what, did you find right? Something like that, Chris, it just made me more determined to smash my life, you know?
Of course, I went not a similar story, but another disaster story, and it was really poignant to me. Was in Lewis, and we were actually there with Prince Charles. It was the first time that they'd done a memorial for a ship called the Ialea. Now, this ship had just come back from the Second World War. I think, as far as, forgive me if I'm wrong, don't quote me on it, but I think they were torpedoed a couple of times on the way back. You know, cut long story short, they've been there for 4 years. They're coming back to a small community. Let's put it this way: taking men away from a village in a place like Lewis in the Outer Hebrides is the entire population of men. And this ship came in. The families. It was on New Year's Eve, 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, New Year's Day even, 1 o'clock in the morning. And literally, the captain messed up and hit a rock, literally about 150 yards from the coast, where all the families, and nearly killed all of them. And yeah, that to me was a really sobering to have actually been there and been around people. A load of the Hebridean ladies had to migrate, basically go abroad to places like Canada, where they were Gaelic speaking as well, because they couldn't upkeep their crofts and lifestyle. So it changed everything. You know, it changed everything. And yeah, watching and seeing something like that, I don't know what it does to you inside, but when you're actually there and you feel it, oh, absolutely, it drives you even more to think, you know, why am I even complaining when something like this has happened? Let's just get on with this. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Chris, are you visualizing your end?
It's starting to get to that point, I think, where I'm realizing that is going to happen soon, because this part of the coast is going to be a lot, I won't say easier, but certainly physically easier and faster, because it's straight. It's so straight all the way down rather than all the locks. So yeah, all I know is this. This has been a stepping stone for me. I found my thing in life that I love doing. You know, you'll agree with this. That was all because of taking a risk and a chance. And I would never have been in this position otherwise. And I think I'll continue, but onto something else.
Yes,
I
think for you, it's certainly a lot more about it is the journey. Whereas for me, it was like, I've got to do this, and it's quite a thing to set yourself. I set myself, I wanted to run an average of an ultra marathon a day, and I was really fixed on that. And so when I left John O'Groats, which incidentally was just wonderful, I was just running along without a care, and you know, you'd think you'd be stressed and worried, and I was the complete opposite, right? I just was so happy to get on the road, and all I allowed myself to think about with respect to the logistics of the trip, the actual, you know, mileage, was meeting my little boy to run the last 100 meters.
Oh, that's amazing, mate.
You know, I wouldn't let myself think about anything else. Just, that's all I visualized was that. And when it actually came to fruition, as you're going to experience, it's just magic.
Oh, mate, I don't know about you, but I think I'm just going to have a massive man cry. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, what a lovely moment that must have been for you, pal, you know, achieving something like that. And it keeps it simple, doesn't it, when you just got that one focus, one goal, that's what you want, and it keeps it very simple. But yeah, I think there's going to be quite a few people down in Swansea there to watch us come in. So I don't know, I think I'm just going to have to cross that bridge when it comes to it. Yes. No, my luck, I'll fall over and break an ankle in the last 100 meters.
Then you crawl.
I've got my teeth, mate. I tell you, I've got my teeth in my hands. Well, most of them.
Have you done that thing where you have a day where you just get angry at everything?
Oh yeah, totally.
Like the road, the track, the bloody sheep.
Yeah, but it always means something, doesn't it? Usually for me, that means that I'm just tired or not realizing it, I suppose. Being determined and wanting to continue all the time can be a bit of a nightmare sometimes. But, you know, now that I look back on it, I think the difference between doing something like this is the time scale. You know, I was very much, when I first started, racing through it, and, you know, it was much easier to do that through the coastline of Wales, but really going for it. But after such a long time of doing it, it's more of a lifestyle rather than well, it has to become more of a lifestyle. And that's kind of chilled me out a lot more. So I know now when to take breaks and stop, you know, getting myself into that position. But listen, my biggest problem on this part of the coast and in Orkney was cows. They don't like dogs, especially when they're calving. So jumping over barbed wire fences, electric fences, getting electrocuted, getting electrocuted all of the time, all summer, become a little bit unfunny. I remember crawling underneath an electric fence because I was too sick of trying to get Jet over there. And I was going underneath and I was getting zapped on the chin as I was trying to push her through. And I just laid there, mate. I'm pretty sure I had a little man cry, just like, what's this all about? What am I doing? When there's a road 10 meters in that direction.
Yes. And have many people come and walked with you? Is that something you like, or is it something you prefer that they didn't?
Not at all. I mean, I'm really happy for people to come and walk. But if you want the honest truth, Chris, where I'm not just saying this, the parts of Scotland that I've been going through, it would have taken some seriously experienced walkers just to have navigated themselves around it. So I had one guy in the Hebrides, Malcolm, ex-forces, wonderful, wonderful man, come and do a huge stretch with me. It was like 110k of just barrenness, basically. And we did that together. But otherwise, most of the parts that I've been doing, have been pretty tricky. You know, there's no roads, no paths, just scaling around the edges of mountains and stuff like this. So part of me would feel a massive responsibility if I had somebody with me doing those sections. So I think now that I'm on this East Coast part, you know, let's see how COVID goes, obviously. But now that I'm on the East Coast, then yeah, I'll definitely have a lot more people come walking, and it'd be nice to have the company.
As you come through England, you experience a lot more, especially from the veterans community.
Yeah. I mean, it's already happening. You know, I'm getting messages and, you know, stuff from battalions down south saying that when you get this way, can we come and walk behind you? So I'm really excited to be doing all of that. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, considering I've just been on my own all this time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool.
I had this rule I used to just say, people would try and help you cross the road. I hated it.
Yeah.
They grab your arm and it's like, and I'm just like,
yeah, it's your journey, isn't it? It's your journey, and it gets frustrating when people try telling you to go here, go there, go do this, go do that. It's like, no, just leave me alone. I'm all right.
Especially when you've almost, you know, I mean, coming into Land's End, I'd already run almost 1,000 miles. It was like, I'm okay. I've got this. People are trying to stop the traffic. I'm like, no, just don't do that. I'll just run across the road when I need to. I know what I'm doing. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not. I don't mean to sound disrespectful. I'm very grateful.
Well, that's it. They're only caring, aren't they?
Yes, I have a lot of support, especially from veterans, especially from the Royal Marines. Yes. What's your fundraiser up to now?
So I am on 156,000 now, and that's all come through social media. All come through social media. So when I hit these bigger parts now, where there's more cities and towns, I'm really going to start ploughing, you know, and trying to get more donations in. But at the moment, all the donations I've had have come from, you know, doing news or TV stuff and stuff like this. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to being able to actually physically doing something about it. When I say physically, I mean actually going into places, meeting people, raising money, and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I've set myself a new target for $250,000. And I'm not going to stop until I get it, to be honest.
Oh, you're going to blow that out the water, Chris. I'm sure. It's a phenomenal amount of money. It's going to help so many people.
Yeah. That is just the nicest feeling, I think. You know, there have been times on this. I've never thought about quitting, and I want to be honest. That isn't me being arrogant. Not once have I ever thought I'm going to stop this. But there have been really, really tough days and stuff like this, and I often have a check on the website and just check how much I've raised, and, you know, look back on some of the comments on my page, and immediately it's just like, yes, okay, let's go again. Next.
Yeah. How can people donate? I mean, I'm obviously going to put the link for your charity page below our YouTube video. Okay. I used to just say, folks, if you can give a $5, that's all I ask. You know, you don't feel because you can't give more that, oh, I'm not going to. It's like if everyone gave a $5, my God. It would really help. Am I right in saying that?
Well, I'll give you the perfect example. I've been without a tent now for a little while, and without a roll mat. A lovely lady here, Lisa, and her partner, Lee, you know, basically had a chat. They didn't tell me about it. And they done a little thing where they basically raffled, and everybody was just given like £2-3 or a £5 or something like that. And now I have a new, well, I'll be having in the next 2 days, a brand new £400 tent, and a £200 roll mat. So absolutely every little helps.
Yes, brilliant.
100%.
Chris, can I come and join you when you hit the southwest? I'm down here in Plymouth, so we're on the coastal path.
Oh, you know, you're so welcome. Of course you can. It'll be absolutely awesome. It'll be absolutely awesome. We can swap stories down there as well, pal.
Yes. I'll bring my camera out, and I don't know if my producer can come over because he lives in Belfast, but Marty, hello, my Netflix producer, which I'm very
hello, Marty. How are you, pal?
very, very proud of. But yeah,
are you on Netflix?
Marty's on Netflix. He's a very accomplished producer. Let's
Wow.
let's put it
Wow.
that way. And
Amazing.
yes.
Amazing.
He's, for anyone who wants to get in touch with Marty, by the way, his link is always below the YouTube video.
Absolutely.
But yeah, let's do that, and I'll see if I can get somebody, you know, the Marines to come out with us, and
that'd be awesome.
And
that'd be awesome. I'd really love that. I've got a few Marine mates myself, so we'll get them down. That'd be awesome. We can go and do, maybe get a couple of days worth of walking and stuff in.
Yeah, we'll teach you how to yomp, mate.
That's.
None of this tabbing nonsense.
You notice that genuine laughter, mate? You notice that? Oh,
Chris, I'm going to cut you loose.
Okay.
Walk that way, or I don't know, maybe that way. Give all of our love to Jet and yourself, mate.
Thanks, mate. And all my love to you down south. And, you know, I really look forward to seeing you.
Yeah.
I really can't wait.
One absolutely amazing man. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Right back at you, pal.
Just stay on the line, mate, while I say goodbye to our beautiful friends at home. Thank you so much for supporting another fascinating episode of the Bought the T-Shirt podcast. If you could like and subscribe and consider the Patreon, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful day.
Hello, friend. I hope this finds you well. My name's Chris THRALL. I'm a former Royal Marines Commando, and I fought my way back from chronic trauma and addiction to live, work and travel in 80 countries across all 7 continents, achieving all of my dreams and goals along the way. Now I pass my simple system on to other people, but I can only help you if you like and subscribe. So please do so, because you get one life, and if you live it right, one is enough.